Hi, welcome to SerpentSong Sanctuary. I'm Xanna Seto, and I am so glad you're here. It is the day before our National Day of Gratitude and Gluttony. I'm talking about Thanksgiving, and I am working hard in the kitchen today, preparing a couple of the side dishes that I'm going to be serving tomorrow ahead of time, just so I have a little less to do in the morning. There will still be plenty to do though, that I can promise you. Usually here at SerpentSong, we have upwards of 20-ish people for the holidays. And of course this year, it's going to be a little different. I think we're going to have a grand total of 3 people sitting at the table. Myself, my husband, and my sister-in-law, who's been here with us for about a month and a half now. So, also my mother-in-law is here, but she's 92 and eats like a bird, so she probably won't make much of a dent in the offerings. I do have around 6 or 7 people lined up for some food delivery afterwards. So it's not going to go to waste. I'm cooking for around 10 people. All right. I am so grateful that we have all this abundance. Some of it comes from the garden. Some of it I had to go out and procure. And, you know, there's a lot of people out there right now who don't have anything, or they have very little. And the pandemic and the economy and all of the factors are really adding up to make it even harder for so many people that might even be in our neighborhoods. So take the time this holiday season to go down to your local food bank and drop something off. Put something in that food drive bin. It doesn't have to be a lot. Every bit helps. That being said, let's get started. So I'm going to offer a couple of different dishes, like I said. One is a sage, sausage, and fennel dressing or stuffing. And the sausage is Beyond Sausage. It's plant-based. This is not something I would eat every day. I wouldn't call it healthy because it is processed. However, it's way better than meat. It's lower on the food chain, easier on our digestions, easier on the planet, and it tastes good. I love Beyond Sausage and Beyond Meats. And we're also going to make roasted Kabocha squash and Brussels sprouts with a sesame, ginger, citrus miso dressing. It's going to be lovely. All right, let's get started. What have we got going here? Let's see. First of all, I've got 1 full loaf of gluten-free bread, and this is dried. I dried it over several days. You can also grab a loaf, chunk it up, and tearing it is really nice because that gives all of the surfaces a lot more room to caramelize and to pick up those yummy juices. Got 1 package of, a Beyond Sausage, and you can use any plant-based meat that you prefer. We're going to take about 3 generous tablespoons of olive oil. Put this over here by the range. We're going to need 2 large eggs. We're going to need a teaspoon and a half of fennel seed, and I've gone ahead and ground this up somewhat. There's still some whole seeds, but a lot of it's ground as well. Let's see, I've got 2 large cloves of garlic. Put this over here as well. We've got 1 medium fennel head or bulb of fennel, and I have chopped this up. I think the biggest pieces would be about 1 inch, but most of them are about 1/2 inch. This over here as well, because we're going to move over here in a minute. And then I've also got, from the garden, I had small leeks in my garden this year. I planted them really late, so I took 2 small leeks, which is about the equivalent of 1 large leek, and you only want to use the white part and maybe just a little bit of the light green. And then I also have my young onions, and I've taken the red young onion and chopped it up, a very large one. It was about that big, maybe 1 inch. So 2 scallions would also, or not scallions, 2 green onions would also work as well. Yeah, scallions. And just chopping that up, and that goes along with it. So I'm going to chop up parsley to make 1 cup, chop up thyme to make 1 tablespoon, chop up rosemary to make 1 tablespoon, and I will chop up sage to make 2 tablespoons. All right, do that in a moment. So let's move over here. Okay, there were a couple of ingredients that I forgot to mention. I forgot the liquids. So we've got 1/2 cup of champagne. I would have preferred white wine, but didn't have any on hand, and we had a lot left from our wedding 3 years ago. So 1/2 cup of champagne and 2.5 cups of broth and 1 stick of unsalted butter. Okay, so first of all, we're going to get our pan heating up, medium-high heat. And I've got 3 generous tablespoons of olive oil here. I'm just going to throw that in there. And I like to put 1 little piece of garlic in there just to see when it's ready. As soon as that starts bubbling a little bit, then I'll know the oil is ready to receive more. Okay, I'm starting to see some bubble. So we're going to go ahead and add the rest of the garlic. I'm also going to add in the fennel seed, just to give that a little bit of a toast. And I'm going to throw in the leeks and onions. And then as soon as the leeks and onions begin to soften up just a little bit, add in that fennel. I'm going to saute this. Not until it's brown. I'm not trying to brown this up. I just want to soften it a bit. I'm going to pre-season the fennel mixture here with a little bit of salt. I'm using Himalayan salt. I'd say that's about 1/2 teaspoon. And of course a little bit of fresh ground pepper. And at this point, I'm going to add in the vegan butter, 1 stick. Ooh. But it is going into quite a bit of stuffing, so just seems like a lot. Actually, one recipe that I looked at called for 2 sticks of butter. No, that's not happening. Not on my watch. So I'm just going to melt down this butter. All right, once the butter is all melted down, then I'm going to add in the wine or champagne, as the case may be. And you don't want anything sweet. You want something a little more on the dry side. And I'll just let that poach for about 5 minutes, just to let the alcohol cook off and let the flavors infuse. That's so nice. All right, let the flavors infuse a little bit. Okay, the fennel mixture is done softening, cooking. So I'm going to go ahead and bring it over and add it to the stuffing or the bread. Beautiful. Okay, and then I'm going to add my water and my egg together. Or not water, but broth. My broth and my egg together. Give that a good stir. There we are. Pour that in as well. Stir that up really nicely. Just to get everything coated up. And then we have 1 tablespoon of thyme from the garden, 1 tablespoon of rosemary. All the herbs are from the garden today. 2 tablespoons of sage, 1 cup of parsley, and everything's finely chopped. Mix that in as well. And then I'm going to take my plant-based sausage and just cut it up into about inch wide pieces. Add that in. Give that a good stir. About a teaspoon of salt, pepper to taste. So I'm going with 2 tablespoons of the liquid aminos. Okay, and then we'll really mix this up well. I suppose I could have put the aminos in when I was cooking the fennel, but didn't think of it then. Okay, and then I'm just gonna pour the whole deal into a baking pan. And you can do it in 2 smaller or 1 larger baking pan, depending on what you have available. And then I'm going to take my well-used aluminum foil and cover this and bake it at 350 degrees for about half an hour to 35 minutes. Covered. All right, our next dish is the roasted Brussels sprouts and Kabocha squash. So I'm going to put these in a larger bowl so that I have some room to move it around. And I'm going to add 4 tablespoons or 1/4 cup of olive oil, my garlic and ginger, that's 2 cloves of garlic, and about a thumb size piece of ginger. Add like a heaping teaspoon of coarse ground sea salt and a generous amount of ground black pepper. And I'm even going to add a little sprinkle of red pepper flakes just to kind of spice it up a little bit. I'm going to toss this together. And then I'm going to put this in a baking pan. Ideally, I would like to cook this at about 400 to 425 degrees, 400 to 425 degrees. However, I do have the stuffing in the oven. So I'm just going to leave it uncovered and put it on the lower rack while the stuffing's cooking. Maybe stirring it a couple of times during that time. And then Once the stuffing's done, I can kick up the temperature a little bit and really get nice caramelization on the outer edges of everything. Okay, let's work on that sesame miso sauce for the Brussels sprouts and kabocha. What I would like to do is first take some little cutie type oranges or tangerines, or you can even use oranges. So I'm taking 3 of these cuties to equal about 1 orange, the equivalent of about 1 orange. And I'm going to zest. I'm going to get some zest off of these guys because I want to finish this dish with a little brightness of that zest. Looks like about a tablespoon of the orange zest. And then I'm also going to take a lemon and take some of that zest as well. Maybe only about half of this guy. And then I'm just going to set the zest aside. Okay. Cut these in half. I'm going to use half the lemon. A quarter of that. And start to extract some juice. In a small pan, I'm going to put in the 1/2 cup of juice that I got from the citrus. I'm going to add a 1/2 cup of broth to that. 2 good tablespoons. I have red miso, that's just what I happen to have on hand. White, yellow, red. Some miso paste, 2 tablespoons. And I'm generous with that. I have a 1/2 cup of dried cranberries. You could possibly use fresh cranberries. However, I suspect they might fall apart completely. So I'm gonna soften these in the citrus and broth. And then I'm also going to add one-half cup of crushed pistachios. And you can actually, if you like them a little crunchier, you can toast these. These are already roasted, but you can toast them up a little bit and throw them on at the end if you like them a little crunchier. For reasons of ongoing dental work that I'm having, which is also the reason that I tend to slur my words a little bit sometimes, I like them a little softer, so I'm going to put them in the broth and let them kind of simmer along with all this goodness. I'm also going to give it a tablespoon of sesame oil, just to really pump up that nuttiness. So I'm going to bring it up to heat, about medium-high, until it's starting to simmer. I'm going to turn it down a little bit and just let the miso simmer down, let those cranberries plump up, and kind of let the pistachios soften a little bit. I realize that I did say that it was a ginger miso dressing, and I put the ginger in with the roasting Brussels sprouts, but I think it's all going to come together at the end, so it'll be just fine. Okay, my timer just went off for the stuffing, so let's take it out and check it out. Yeah. Oh yeah, that's really cooking up nicely. I am actually thinking I'm going to give this 10 more minutes covered in the 350-degree oven, and then probably put it in 425, let's do 450 for another 10 minutes just to get it nice and brown on the top. Ooh, wow, yum. All right, so it ended up being in the oven for 15 minutes uncovered. So that's half an hour covered and 15 minutes uncovered. And it looks beautiful. It smells so amazing. Okay, so this is for tomorrow. But I will, I gotta taste it, right? And make sure it's edible. Oh my gosh. Oh, this looks yummy. I want to find a little piece of sausage. It's very hot. Oh, that's good. Still really hot, but wow, that is so yummy. This could absolutely be a standalone entree. It's that good. And it's going to be a beautiful complement to our Thanksgiving dinner. All right, we are now waiting for the Brussels sprouts and kabocha squash to finish roasting. And then once that's done, we will move on to next steps. I've been checking in on my Brussels sprouts and kabocha and stirring it occasionally, and I think it's about ready. Ooh. Beautiful. Oh yeah, there's some nice browning there. So I'm pulling it out of the oven just for a moment. What's gonna happen now, let's set those down. So this miso mixture that I made has actually thickened quite a bit. So I already added an extra half a cup of broth to it. So I'm gonna add one more half cup just to get it nice and liquid again. There we are. And then I'm gonna pour this over the Brussels sprouts and kabocha. This is super hot. I'm gonna put my glove back on and mix this in. Yeah, and that kabocha is looking a little dry to me. So I'm actually going to add in even more broth. I'm looking at probably another cup. So that's 2 1/2 cups total of broth. Okay, and then we have the lemon and orange zest. I'm going to put that in. Give that another little stir. Now I'm going to cover it with foil and stick it back in the oven. It's still on 450 for about another 5 minutes, I think, just to moisten that squash back up. Okay, here it is. Oh, that smells good. It smells really nutty. The sesame and the miso are coming through. Let's see, it's really hot right now. So I am going to just try to get a little bit of everything. in one bite. Oh, the miso, the citrus, the ginger, sesame, the kabocha, the cranberries, the pistachios. Wow. Oh. So good. Oh my God, I could sit here and eat this all night. But I need to save some for tomorrow. One more bite. I still have plans to make beets, carrots, and purple sweet potatoes with a nice maple syrup glaze and some mushroom saute with an herb pesto and some mashed potatoes. And of course, my husband eats meat, so the obligatory turkey and gravy will be on the table as well. But for right now, this is a great start. And just looking forward to spending a nice day with some good food and some good company. Here's to you and yours. By the time you see this, Thanksgiving will be one for the history books. But we still have a few more holidays approaching, so maybe some ideas, some inspiration for your next holiday table. All right, that's it for me. I am going to wrap this up, let it cool, get it in the fridge, and get up tomorrow morning and jump in here and start making a mess. So until I see you next time, I want you to be nourished, be inspired, and be transformed. I'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.
Yeah, I said not together. We are writing the story of